You're live. Not a bad connection. That's good. Hello, hello, hello out there. There's nobody on yet, but somebody could be watching right now, later on. Hope you are. Hope you're sharing it. Hope you're just talking Bigfoot. I know not a lot of people can understand me. Not a lot of people. Hey, Michelle. Michelle. Yeah, Michelle. How's it going? Mitch, how you doing, man? Yeah, so support the cause if you can. At least the conversation of Bigfoot. If you don't get Tin Man and understand that Bigfoot actually does have a real life here on Earth, hence the naming of the video that I called, I got my thing here, so I'm just going to check and see. It should be coming up on my videos right now. Oh, there it is there. Bigfoot is earthling, just as human is of Earth. I'd say 100%. Thank you for the thumbs up. You have, eh? Well, you know, being busy with work and family is awesome. So, laugh out loud, that means you're having a good time, brother. You know, and your family is young right now, so this is the time you really need to, you know, be there that close anyway, so good on you. But yeah, Bigfoot is an earthling, the same as humans. Somewhere in the line, I would say, being a 5-digited being. You know how we come up with saying it's got 5 toes on a foot, it's got 5 fingers on, you know, sort of on a hand. So it obviously somehow is related to us. It walks on 2 feet. It's another way, and the way it walks and stuff, it shows that it's not how a bear kind of mimics walking on 2 feet and finds some easiness in it, but Bigfoot is more, it's in their genetics to do that, so that's where I'm at with a little bit of stuff that is, you know, just how we can see that Bigfoot is in there. How I personally connect Bigfoot also as an earthling such as us is they're if you look up at the moon in a bright night where you can see the moon very well, you know, not even the divots, the mountains, whatever's going on up there doesn't even show us much channeling. It doesn't show us much where you see veins of mountains where you can just see they're going and going and going. You know, it doesn't show us anything that are connected to any kind of a valley or anything like that. I mean, the surface might not be so flat, but it doesn't easily. Hey, Rob, how's it going, brother? You liked my last video? Thanks, man. Thanks, man, very much. I'm just taking a look and trying to remember which one that was. But that doesn't, oh, there it is. It's time to understand them. That one there, eh? Yeah, trying to throw things out there to try to get people to think. But anyway, so I'm going back to home here, and I'm going to look at, because this title helps remind me where I am with the Bigfoot earthings. Yeah, and yeah, right on. Thanks. So if I don't, you know, you guys, if I don't comment and you're still there, just let another person say, yeah, he's just in the middle of something. He just doesn't want to get off a story for a minute here, right? Because I'm finding this this is where I'm trying to say that Bigfoot is related to some extent as being being on Earth, being a, shall I say, entity of Earth, somehow built here on Earth. They show a similar style of characteristics just in their beingness. And just in our beingness of what we are, we show a very also, once again, strong influence of Earth in our beingness. And so does Sasquatch. And that's why I brought in the relation of the moon. It doesn't show much for that style of traveling life. We don't just travel life, energy, food, for whatever necessary things. It's just built into our minds that we have to travel. Our hips, the people with the best set up hips, when you look at a girl walking, not that you should be looking at her in any perverse ways, guys, whatever that is. Anyways, so when you look at a girl walking, and the sway of her bum, not the way she's trying to jiggle her bum, I'm talking about the mechanics in her hips. So you're actually looking at the mechanics in her hips. And if you can picture with each sway as she strides forward, you can see, there's one sway of the infinity sign. And then as she brings the other leg, there's the other sway. And as she's walking away, you can actually picture the infinity sign within her mechanics of how her body's working there. Well, that statement is telling us that the hips are meant to last forever, basically. The life of a human, without a problem, if you don't dent or hurt yourself in any way in the hips section, and you have nicely formed hips. That's why an infinity sign, I bet you every runner and stuff like that probably has a tight, real infinity twirl. Who knows? I don't know. But anyways, the point is that, I'm just talking about something, a characteristic. I don't know why I really got onto that part of it, about the hips part of it, but it does tell us something anyways. So when we carry on and we start looking at the earth, and we see it has, because of the path part of it. So I'm showing that we really are built travelers. We're built to walk. We don't necessarily have to swing our arms. We have all these other mechanics that we get to use however we want to, and we can figure out stuff, especially in this life. We can be tons of different things. But the reality of it, the very first thing that when we start becoming aware is what we really want to do is probably just walk. Instinctually, like an ant moves, we want to just walk, and all the rest of it will be part of our trip. So anyways, now you see out here, and we've got all these paths. We got these paths for driving. We have these paths that we can use as the river is a path. We have... we use the rivers where they come down through waterfalls and everything like that in our sport, in our adventure and stuff. And we use it as a path and such. We make trails. We have in all our history made trails. So in other words, we have grid systems that we use for taking all our food needs, traveling all for our needs, whether it's going to get something for fuel or food, water for our children, anything like that. It's a grid design that we have in our natural being. Well, Bigfoot has either taken advantage of that in particular thing. I believe that Bigfoot is here before humans, for starters. And so whether they understood a trail mentality in the earlier years, we will find that, probably be able to figure that out. But now they totally take advantage of it. And a lot of Bigfooters, a lot of people who go out there researching are just going to realize, yes, they do take advantage of it. So in other words, they also themselves take advantage of these systems for food, transporting their families. They take advantage of our roads. They take advantage of our grid system, by making their grid system actually easier to translate to their friend when they're trying to tell them, I want you to go over to that clan over there and take these vegetables or whatever's going on. And the guy's going to say, well, how do you get there? And he's going to say, well, you remember that big intersection over there? Well, just start from that spot and go up Lily's Cliff, whatever. So you can kind of see how they get smarter off of us. They get to learn stuff off of us. And that's, I believe, a lot of what's going on here is they're learning that we're not that mean. They're learning that we're not all yelling at them, that we're not pulling out our guns and shooting, and so on and so forth, on the level of where they've really been popping their faces out with a number of different researchers out there and such like that. on a different level than a paddy, because a paddy, most people think there was just one being there. I personally do not believe that. I believe there was probably somewhat size of a clan right there, and she was all about foiling the two horsemen and going off and leading them that direction, so there was comfort where the other ones were all hanging out, because maybe they were in a position where they really couldn't move because they could attract an eye or whatever of the guys on the horses and such. But that's a whole story in itself. But anyways, so now we travel out now, so we're kind of seeing some stuff where, we're a lot alike. They're going to have veins and all that kind of stuff. We know they're going to have a beating heart. It's obvious from Patty. It's just obvious. And the people who were not saying it's obvious then you got a lot to learn. If you don't think that Patty is a legitimate source for us, and probably the top one, then you just really don't have much of a clue on what's really going on or what's been studied out there. And that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying you're an idiot or trying to insult you. I'm just saying, get on your bandwagon of starting to study and put in your hours. So now we go, while we look around at all the other animals. Not that all of them want to use path systems and stuff like that, but so many of the creatures on Earth, even when we get into all the bugs and stuff, they all have vein systems. They all like to trail, they all like to walk, they all like to push through things and get somewhere and stuff like that. There's different species of things that are probably under the water, where they're content with just sitting in the exact same spot forever. But above water, there's very few things, that don't somehow have it in them to be changing their location. And so when we go up into kind of space there, and we're looking down from space, we see all the different kinds of veins. If you look at the mountains, how the ridges work, how the valleys work, how all that stuff works, that stuff is all part of a feeding system. When water comes, it feeds. We go to a desert where there isn't much rain, then it's really hard to have green stuff there. If there's a little bit of rain, then sometimes they can have green stuff off of that. Or you come to a country like that and you have lots of rain, you have lots of green stuff, and it's because of the feeding. And the feeding goes with water. It goes with the breakdown of minerals. It goes all, the water helps with rotting processes. So when we really start to get into it, we realize that lava travels in veins. Underwater streams and springs. There's a number of different names for those things because they react in different ways. And then some, we're assuming, are coming from pretty darn deep when they're actively hot, like a hot spring. And the thing about the Bigfoot, they know all that stuff. They have, that is what their life is about. Okay? And for whatever reason, well, I'm not going to go there yet. And now we just look at plants. Look at plants. What does a tree do? It puts a vein system into the earth to eat. It puts a vein system out of the earth to eat. Only to do that. And when it's eating, it gets to grow. And when it gets to grow and it's growing a lot, then fruits get to be plucked from it, whatever the fruit is. Whether the fruit is for eating or the fruit is just for a breakdown as for when the rain comes. And that reaction of rot can happen because that's what's going on. That's what we're seeing a lot of. We're seeing a lot of trees, a lot of moss. We're seeing a lot of that stuff that ends up on the ground. And it helps rainforests come, for starters. Rain even come. The more places where you have rainforest, the more they have rain, I would imagine, is pretty much across the board. And So, there's a number of things I'm kind of saying. So when you go up in space and you look at Earth, you can see it's a whole big vein system. It's a big feeding system. And Bigfoot take advantage of that, and they've helped create it, and all the differences that we see in the weird shapes of trees, and we see different mosses growing everywhere and such like that. We see zillions of roses out here. See off to the right there, just by that walk-in clinic sign, you see that? Those rose plants? Like we're, everywhere in there. We got all kinds of different roses around here. And back in the day, they really didn't act like that. Recently, I was talking to one of the head gardener ladies here. And if I recall correctly, because she's on the bandwagon, she gets me, but she's a devout mother, a devout worker, and a devout person of doing whatever's busy in her life. So she's got at least information to be able to help me realize that I'm not wrong. Let's put it that way. And she gets a good understanding of why she's confused about a lot of the changes. And one of the changes that I'm going to point out there, because I told her before about the trees and stuff and so on and so forth, the marking of them in the skin and stuff, but I guess she kind of maybe, lost the thought of that or something like that. And we were standing by the library there. And I said, even the skin on this one. Oh, and she goes, oh yeah, the skin on that. And she calls it whatever it is. Isn't that beautiful and stuff? And I'm realizing, oh, she doesn't really realize that this is actually their creation. So I said, that's what I said. I said, this is one of their creations. She goes, oh? She kind of looks up, and right in front of us, right at her eye level, kind of hand level actually, the tree's right there, and you see all these strips of bark that have been taken out right here, 3 or 4 pieces, and I go, that's them have taken them out. And she looks at that, and she undeniably just learned something fabulously new, probably scary at the same time. So, and I told her quite a few things again that day or whatever type thing. But pretty much at that moment, I believe, is when it happened, when she said something like, that's why I think she said my azaleas, but I'm not sure, and something else. But she did say that's why these 2 in particular plants, I think she said, have marks all over them. I think that's what she said. I'm not really sure, actually, but she did her own connection there, based on a real good visual, right? And that's why I tell people to come out too, because like Jay knows, if you read any of Jay's comments coming on and stuff like that, you may feel like he's pumping it up, but he actually is just more pumped up, where he wants people to just kind of believe it. So he's making some bold statements by doing some bigger letters or whatever, bold letters or something, and he's saying a couple of comments on where he feels like it's really, he's growing with it. Let's go with that. It's nothing to do about tooting horns and stuff. It's about me putting in a lot of work, saying the same thing for many, many, many months. And now I'm much more at the place where I'm a lot more liberated with it. And, I don't want any partners walking along with me or anything like that. I'm going to say hi to everybody. Sorry about just yakking on, guys, but, oh, look at all those messages. Hi, Tin Man. Hey, Susan, how's it going? Bigfoot Forest, how's it going? Hey, Ian, many of the individuals over here have 6 digits on hands. Really, eh? I hear you. And also watch for the trickery in that. Right? The mimicking, to spin up another handprint or digit, to add it in there or whatever. Try to distinctly look at the digit. Try to see, as you see more of them, try to give it authenticity. You know how we can really, on a human, if we did a handprint, we can really tell our thumb really well. You'd be able to pick up a human real thumb quite well. Now, imagine trying to fool you now with the human print. Try to just really study like that is what my thing would be. Because 6 digits... that's kind of peculiar. Susan's saying she agrees. A large clan probably. and something is going on right near my place. You never knew. I hear ya, sister. So, I've told people, just be smart. Pretend that you don't know how safe you are. Just go with that. You don't know how safe you are, so don't put yourself beyond not knowing how safe you are. Once you are able to realize, okay, I'm safe enough to go on this kind of a trail like this, there's a whole bunch of people here, then take advantage of it. But don't go out of safeness with these guys. Their reading of me really, there's sometimes where I'm sitting there and it must be way different with me, and I really believe it's probably because of my tinnitus and my hyperacusis. They're both hearing ailments. One of them is electrical vibrating and the other one is sound. So you could understand how, they do have some kind of an infrared kind of like thing about them. And yeah, so it probably could maybe confuse them. They could be confused about me or something. Susan says she's studying Bigfoot all the time. Susan, will you get some captures for us? By her hands, like a little one in her hand? Just hang your camera over your fence and click. Yeah, I hear you, man. Just up and over and click right before a blink of an eye. Bigfoot is on the rise. You got it. Don't forget to bless. I hear you on that. Susan's saying, I'm trying to do that. Laugh out loud. She will get something. Yes, I love it. They seem to enjoy stories. Oh, yeah, child, equality and love. Yeah, I hear you. Many different sounds and stuff. Good. It's okay, Ian. Been listening. Cool. Right on, Rob. Double thumbs on. Right on. Yeah, that's the thing, guys. Is in Bigfoot Forest, you realize that if you don't, because I know you don't like to deal with comments. I get that, and I really understand it. But that does affect your viewings a bit, just so you know, because then when you don't get comments and you don't get thumbs in that selection, then, yeah, you miss out. So you might want to do it. You might want to try just doing a test. Because sometimes I'd like to comment on yours and say, I think you're missing some stuff. Anyways, double thumbs on some. Ian the Giants of old had 6 fingers. Yeah? You will be careful. Awesome, Susan. I like when you ramble on. Right on, Rob. You're probably using it as a fall to sleep. Some soothing things. Bigfoot is saying, I'm in for sharing info, nothing more, bro. I hear you. And I think you've said that before, and I apologize if it bugs you, but I will forget. You know that. Probably. You're doing great. I think you got a pretty good following. It's not monetized. I hear you. So that probably makes points against you again anyways, right? But I don't know. You're the one who knows how many likes do you get on your channel anyways, but I know when I go on your things, I always like them, even if I don't even have time to watch it. Because there's some times where I'm in a mode where I'm just jumping around to some of the people they support. And I'm getting to see that. Oh, you guys got to see that Dobie too. Is that a red Dobie? When I was a young guy, 16, 17, 18, I had a really good relationship with a couple of Dobermans. And one was a red and one was a black. The male was a red one. He was big. He was very big. He was compared to that one right there, he would have looked massive to that. He almost looked like Scooby-Doo in a way. He really did. His head stood up in a long neck and big head. Good evening. How's it going, brother? Big-headed Martian is here. Good evening, Tin Man. What we talking about tonight? Well, make sure you come back and look at the earlier stuff and see what you think. And because basically I was talking about, just some stuff. I was saying some stuff how I'm seeing how these guys are so related to being earthlings, not to being an alien, you know. And I think if you kind of look inside my theories a little bit and just, just kind of sit back with your mind and think about how many canals and veins and channels and paths and all these different things in your body, in your brain, in through your all different organs and stuff. And they're all feeding and pushing whatever out and different things like this. All kinds of things are going on there, right? All the way out to our pores. We can, even you look at our skin tightly, it looks like kind of like like a canal system and stuff like that. Well, that's what we're walking on. We're walking on something that's very similar. And so is Bigfoot. And so were they very similar. So, the more we connect them, we got 2 eyes, a nose, a mouth. Most of us probably have 5 fingers, and most of them probably have 5 fingers per hand and 5 toes per hand and all that kind of stuff. So I'm thinking that we're all brothers of Earth and sisters of Earth. And yeah, like some of us big names out there, like Bigfoot Force, they're saying that they're opening up the curtains. I have a feeling that there's a birth issue myself. I think that they're, maybe they are opening up curtains and stuff, but I've heard a number of guys that, almost give me an impression that they don't want it to go too fast, and that doesn't necessarily make sense sometimes. So my thing is, they are gardeners of the world still. That's their function, that's their job. Like an ant has his job. We might not really understand, but we know an ant's supposed to be here, right? And lots of other bugs, right? Mosquitoes, we don't know why they're supposed to be here, and we all want them to die. But anyways, so what was I saying there? Yeah, those guys have a plan. Or they have a life, I should say. And then, so what I'm thinking when I'm walking around, because 2 years ago I was saying, and I remember saying this a number of times, guys, I can see a bunch of trails. That's what I would be saying on my early videos is, guys, I can see them building trails, but I know nobody's living here yet. I had comparisons. I had places where I was seeing where they were living and hanging out a lot, and then I was seeing where these paths and trails. That was by the night of where I got growled at, about 6 weeks. I got to figure out the date, but that night that I got growled at, that was when I was heavily into it over there on the island, and the guy that was night security gave me a tough time. A couple of them, I actually think. Anyways, so they got a job, but they got too many kids now. They got whoever is in their small society. So that's what we're trying to figure out now, is we're trying to figure out, is there truly going to be a small society of beings that are so well connected with the Bigfoot beings? Because the Bigfoot beings, I believe, are going to be in charge of something if there is other beings. Like, it's too well done of a job. Like, you guys really do need to go up to trees with your camera now. Put it on micro shot. Go right up to your trees and look at those cracks in the bark and go to where you think it is a pretty fresh looking color in there. It's not dark, it's not green, it's not whatever. Maybe you have to turn on your light and stuff. You film that microwave and get it as best as you can on your camera there. Go look at it at your film on your computer. And you decide if you're looking at a carving or if you're looking at a tree stretch. You question, why am I seeing bark grain lines, like bark grain lines? Sometimes you might get into the tree grain lines, but generally bark grain lines down to probably the lower skin tree. But still, and you're seeing grain lines of bark, and it's etched out on this side and whittled away on this side. Kind of makes like a little canyon, what we live in, what we walk in, and what these guys build. They build canyons. That we're going to end up figuring out that they actually built the Grand Canyon. Where you're probably going to figure out that they actually were in on the pyramid somehow. But the Grand Canyon, I have a very strong sense. Why? Because I'm watching them change our canyon all the time. So I would love to do a drive through our canyon, you guys. I have lots of literature up, videos and stuff of canyon drives now. And I'd be able to just be, I still got to get over to the 50-year-old wall. Yes, Rob, it's coming. I know you're excited about that. And I apologize if it seems like I was a little bit rude of it, because I said I'm going immediately. But today, once again, I drove by and I had time to do a pretty slow drive past it. And I did want to stop, man. To me, it's fantastic. And the reason why it's such fantastic information is because I swear to you, I promise, and I hope the first footage shows it, but that wall was such a smooth-faced wall. Whole bunch of different rocks that all had a pretty soft, straight, square side on it. We're all lined up super flush. Now what's happening? Whole bunch of new weeds coming out of there. Tons of weeds. Up on that other rock where it's the bigger rocks where they're just kind of piled, they're all doing major shifting too. Guaranteed you'll see it. And tons of flowers. The flowers are just overtaking that wall. And it's kind of like, I think they're the type of flowers that shouldn't have disappeared over the winter, but maybe they are that kind. But anyway, so just different things going on. I have seen your horned-looking Bigfoot, and it seems that the paddy kind of Bigfoot might be interbreeding with another species, possible like dogmen. Okay, I'm going to jump back to here, I think. Yeah, I'm going to just jump back to this one so other people can get a lesson here from Rob. I like it when you ramble on. Oh, thanks, Rob. I'm in for sharing info. Yeah, I clicked like. Awesome, Susan. And my channel is, yeah, I get that. Oh, yeah, we were there. Good evening, yes. I always do this every time. Anyways, I hate one guy that thumbs me down. I swear it's my brother. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you on that. Susan's saying laugh out loud on that one. The Native Americans believed they were the keepers of the forest. Yeah, but they also kind of believe that they're a spiritual being, I believe. And I don't get what they mean. I almost get a feeling like they kind of think like this invisible spirit place. So when like a person dies or something, they get to go to this. I don't know. Haven't followed any of their stuff, so I'm kind of throwing out that question right now. Like, do they, what is their feeling with, the Bigfoot beings when it comes to, do they just think there's kind of spiritual, how a human feels they can? Or are they actually a special kind of spiritual, like almost that invisible thing, I've seen you, okay. I don't know about the spiritual aspect either. I hear you, okay. So, yeah. Yeah, I don't want to comment on that really or anything like that. I'd like to learn more about that. But I've gotten the feeling from a few of them out there, probably ones that don't have a spark at all to think about Bigfoot much. Then they think it's, it's too spiritual to try to look at, try to go look for them or something like that. Maybe that's the message my dad's kind of going with, because my dad once said to me he didn't think it was, like, if I remember correct, he said the word moral. I think he said it wasn't, to him it wasn't a moral, just thing to do in a way, to go out and look for them or whatever type thing, right? And, but to the point of where I'm standing now, it has nothing to do with my morals. It has to do with us being educated in case they are, because that's where I was going with their overpopulation means an extra amount of work, a lot of extra work. Not a lot of little moss throughout this forest and a little this throughout here and so on and so forth. It's take everything on from mountain top to mountain bottoms. I look at those mountains out there, and you guys mountains. I don't know how you guys are really looking at your mountains and really being able to see things, but I look at my mountains obviously in a little bit closer view than what we are here. It's a little misty and foggy out there, but and totally see a difference, and I see it all related with Bigfoot. You know, I look at this stuff after I left all up here and stuff. I see just Pokemons, tons of pokey trees. I might be hitting the mic a bit, I'm sorry. And, you know, just their signature on everything. It's their signature, you know. Yeah, blow me away stuff. Very interesting. Tin Man's going to say goodbye. I'm going to say thank you very much for everybody who showed up. And Ian saying goodbye, even more so thankful. And yeah, if you guys really do feel like you want to see more of my stuff and want me to do a bit of a drive or anything like that, then we can talk about you helping me out with some gas money so I can do that. I just from Jan here, he gave me some gas money, just I'm not saying just, but I'm saying a $20 bill, and instead of me looking at that 20 like it was last week's gas allowance or anything like that, what that 20 does is actually is in my pocket, and in a day or two or whatever, when I feel like doing that that $20 drive, that's what I'm going to do based on G's thing, and I'm gonna go out to one of my spots I haven't been able to get out for a while or something. Maybe I'll head out to Harrison or something and do a drive around Harrison and see what I can kind of pick up around there and stuff. And yeah, and hopefully, because that's one of the big things about my channel you guys got to understand, that, or should understand, is that I might not be the best at categorizing, and you know, over 2,000 videos on the subject. I'm over 2,200 videos on the subject, and you know, I apologize for that, but I'm trying to work to a spot where, like, say if I went up to Harrison, I'm trying to get to a spot where I sit here like this now, and I bring up my computer and I make a new playlist about Harrison, and I just grab a bunch of the different videos, older ones, newer, whenever I come across them, and throw them in there. So if you yourself happen to be into me and you get my work a bit and you're realizing that, hey, this isn't in a such and such playlist for Tin Man or something, throw me the note down. If you have an idea, throw me the note down. I appreciate that. I'm sitting here lots of times just twiddling my thumbs, watching a lot of videos and stuff and thinking and trying to figure out life just like the rest of us and stuff. But I look at a wide range of information, I realize now, and in part because it's helping me educate myself on the urgency of what I'm looking at. Because I don't know if you guys have gotten this message out of me, but I'm fucking urgent about this message. I say our science has to right now have to fucking well be on our science, have to be of this. They either are something so far up their ass that they're so blind in opening their mind, because tree problems, or you know what I heard last night on probably the CBC radio? They said that a big evergreen tree grows, and when she makes her seeds, us humans are thinking, not come up with the answer, we're thinking that she puts genetic marking, not a real gene where we can find it. So a genetic marking in there of a transfer of, get this, of all things, guys, moss. Whoops, you see that tree right there? See all those black bits in it? See how it's really quite dark on some spots there? It's got a bad moss. And that, as thick as you see it on the worst spot there, if you can kind of pick up that there's some thickness there. That tree is one of the last trees to be being cleaned up. And it was that thick throughout it. The tree straight forward in front of it, that big mama right there, she wasn't covered in it. Actually, whoops. That one over there, right, right there, you can see she's still pretty dark and stuff. She's pretty covered in it. She is a different leafing, I think, but she is really covered in the stuff. My point is, when I was talking to a guy today that, whatever, I was taking my last attempt at him and trying to reel him in, because he's a person that really, he's a search and rescue guy, so he walks the fields. And so I'm trying to reel in a good mind like that, but I think I've totally lost him. But anyways, I'm standing right beside some trees when I'm talking about, and I'm telling him about this seed that supposedly has a invisible genetic thing that moss is going to automatically transfer to that tree when it grows as a seedling, because they're not understanding how the moss is jumping around from tree to tree. And I'm telling that guy that thing. As I point to the tree, right there within touching distance, I put my finger on 3 different kinds of mosses that are totally covering the trees in his mole that he takes care of or whatever. And there's probably, I don't know, hundreds of trees that have these minimally 3 different kinds of mosses. This kind right here that we're looking at is a different kind of a moss. So that moss might be in some of the trees there or not, I'm not sure. Or at least it's breeding different than what I've seen, how they got it placed over there, right? But anyways, the point is, here I am listening to a radio, you guys, and they're talking about it on a super science level, where they bring it down to where they start to cut the stuff up. They put it in a little thing, they spin it around, they're getting all these different little things with it and stuff, and they've been spending their millions of dollars for years trying to figure stuff out. And here, the real answers are right there in front of us. They're really happening now. So, and there's not another, I'm not trying to toot any horns or anything. There's a few guys out there who know it. There's a few guys out there who are backing me, and I fully appreciate that. But now we really need to start changing it and getting it bigger. Why? Because I want my grandchildren to, as much as I don't want filthy people to come around here and start doing stupid things, I don't want any animals just causing us problems, or any other beings causing us problems. Fear problems. Maybe that's part of the thing that we just are doing here, is we need to help the people who are all driving by here realize that there's real stories floating around out here now, guys. Just listen to this wacko Tin Man. And yeah, so I'm kind of off the thing now where I'm flying pretty good, where my embarrassment of my because it really is my found tracking. I'm the only guy who sees me tracking them, and lifestyles that they're living and different things that they have going on and stuff. So let's do what we need to do. Rodriguez, how's it going? So I'm going to see a couple of things here. I don't know about the street. Yeah, right. Soon as Susan's saying, right, watching videos and either their population explosion among them, or people just realize they are here. And I got you on that, Susan, but I know how good I am in the forest. And I understand through what I've learned here actually better how good I was before. And like I said in the story a minute ago there, where I could pick up when they were moving into some of the areas fresh new. Yeah, that's true. That's real. That's me really being able to. And now wherever I go, there's not much for fresh new. There's maybe some fresh trails, because they decided this week they're walking through this way a little bit more than that way. There might be stuff like that, but anywhere I can go around here, I pretty much will be able to figure out their heavier living area, and then they just travel everything. We probably have, throughout our mountains here, we probably have hundreds and hundreds and thousands of miles that we anybody who's out there walking around kind of think are game trail type things. And we don't have the availability of game in these areas to do that kind of stuff. Not at all. Our deer do not make a path. Our raccoons don't. Our bears make a momentary path where it will clear up after a while. If they're in the area for a while, then it just becomes a complete compact kind of area, because a bear is kind of like a pig. He poops like a pig on the go a lot of times. He's got diarrhea a lot because of whatever he eats a lot. and he looks everywhere for food. So, and these guys mimic things. So there's a time where you can kind of maybe come across a poop and stuff and you think it's bear poop, and you can look around and you might think the way the paths and going into trees and stuff are bear shape and stuff. So still be aware of bears being around. I wouldn't, but here, I think probably most of the bears have cleared out from around in this area, it seems, this year. Like, I've heard hardly anything that's legitimate and a well enough story on a bear. Good night, Rob. I'm sure you're long gone, and that's cool. You have some great videos. Thank you. Don't sell myself short. Thank you. Amen. Susan's also saying we have to get this. Yes, we do, don't we? We got to figure it out. I'm glad you're on, Susan. That's pretty cool. They're majestic. That's cool. Rodriguez saying that. And I trust you know that you are talking. I trust you know what you are talking about. You have been doing this for how many years? I'm into this, like, basically, somewhere around September of this year will be 2 years of, almost living it daily. Some respects daily, and yeah, and then I went onto the road pretty quick. I've been on the road, and so what I have done is I've spent way more time around these beings, not than most people, not than everybody, but than most people. There's other people out there who, also know how to know when they're around them and stuff like that, and so I've really got to get, like, Jay the other day was really, when he was with me there and we were walking around the spot, that's when he was really getting a good experience of a couple of dog sounds, fake dog sounds. And because I was there, I was able to say, well, Jay, think about this. We're in the bottom of this little valley right now. We got this creek going on here. You were in there, walking through there. I was doing, and stuff like this. I came back to, I re-walked down this trail here, Jay, because he met me at a low spot again, and I re-walked back that way because I was just coming in to question the barks. And as we kind of locate together there, as we're talking about it, 2 of them barked. Just before we both came together, that's right. 2 of them barked. So I'm coming back to hear that first guy's voice, try to see if I can hone in on it a little bit better and try to figure out direction and stuff. And Jay's cutting across a path now to hook up with me. And then all of a sudden, I think it was a rough and another rough. Lighter voiced guy and a deeper voiced guy. And yeah, once standing there and just saying, well, look at these couple of things and realize that's where the road is up there. There's this stuff, and realize all that kind of stuff. Because I'm also able to give them description of the valley coming from the other way. And the reason is because I used to live at the other end of that little spot, which remarkably makes it awesome. Because obviously I've been in there before. There's part of the thing, like, that's actually one thing I'm just blowing up in my mind, where I spent most of my time in that thing. That might be a visit, that maybe I'm going to do tomorrow, guys. I think that's what I'll do tomorrow then, is I'm going to head in all the way from the one side, a direction that I've never gone in from before, and go into a place where if you go back into my early videos, my tinnitus videos and stuff, far out, we're going to be able to go to where, I'm going to go to where that great big bank is in my tinnitus videos, and you'll see me doing this one thing where I talk about a therapy, and I'm soaking my feet in freezing cold water. Just thinking, trying stuff out, whatever, just being out in nature. But I'm in front of this huge bank because my boy and his cousin climbed it a number of years back when they were like 7 or something. And yeah, so I'm excited. You can probably hear it in my voice, but yeah, I appreciate everybody coming out. I trust you know, okay. You don't have the answer. You don't have to answer that. Yeah. We don't have... Oh, the years? Yeah, I hear you, and I appreciate that. I don't have much of a problem there, Susan. Some people probably won't give me credit because of a short lifespan here, but guaranteed, if that guy's got history actually walking around, guaranteed. If I was a betting man, I would, I'd be willing to do those things just to try to get a couple of big names around or whatever type thing, just to see if I, whatever, I don't know. But like you said, Susan, we do need to know, and we need to just kind of figure out where they are. I get excited about it. I don't have grandchildren yet, but I have 4 children. And I know I will have grandchildren, minimally if my children for some reason chose not to have children, I would imagine there'd be 1 or 2 of them that would at least adopt then, because their love for stuff is big. So I see grandchildren in my future, and yeah, who doesn't like doing things for their grandchildren before they come? Everybody out here is saving that $50 a month for their grandchildren. So here, whoop, whoop, there he is. I can't leave now. Not when Mark shows up. Scout, the Mind Beast, who does very good videoing too. He doesn't talk much, which is cool, so you don't have to put up with a guy like me, for those people who like to just see and know what you're, because a lot of us now are learning enough where our eyes will lead us through a lot of that stuff. So awesome. You know what you could do? Hey, Mark, an idea here, because, it is what it is, and I don't get to see all your videos or whatever type thing, right? But, remember when you do have a specific item that you do want us to be aware of, if you could just bring the phone up a little bit towards your mouth, that would be helpful for me and my hard hearing. And maybe something like this, like that light right there. You guys see that star right there? That's the one I'm naming after Tin Man. I had to make it light that I was bossing Mark around. He didn't like it. And Susan is saying, Utah Sasquatch stopped making videos for a while. Oh, okay. He came under, really a lot of pressure. You really feel bad for him. He's very humble, eh? Cool. Yeah, that's too bad, because, and I used to feel that more that way. I still feel pressure, I guess. I'm not fooling myself right now, but, I think there's 2 different kinds of pressures. And I don't get the pressure of, you're a fool, you're a liar, you're an idiot, you're a nincompoop, you're too short, you're too fat, you're too stupid, you're too ugly. I don't get the pressure of that. I get the pressure of, guys, this is tiring. Can you share it a little bit more? Peace out, everybody. Have a great night. Love y'all.